Okay, we are going to continue moving forward, talking about some key things that the DAF textbook, so we need this on, some key things that the DAF textbook brings up under followership. And this is, they put this in the material on followership and how to be a good follower, but I think it's much more general than that. I would have put it back in the developing your mind things. But one thing that they say can develop your potential as a follower, and I think a leader as well, is comes from Stephen Covey in his very popular, still popular book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And before we get to the habits, I'll talk a little bit about the way that they were developed. And Covey said that there are general people types. All right, that's what he started with. Some people are dependent. They expect someone else to take care of them. They blame others when things go wrong. Maybe that's, a yes man follower or something like that, but that's not really the kind of follower that we want to develop. The next type of person, and we all kind of start out as being very dependent people when we're very young, but over time we develop a sense of independence, a sense of self-worth, an attitude of self-reliance. Now, that's great, but Covey argues that that's not the penultimum, that's not the apex of where we want to be. What we really want to be is what he calls interdependent people. These are people that can act independently, but they realize that it's best to work cooperatively with others, and that life and work are better when one experiences the richness of close interpersonal relationships, that those are really important. So that's the goal of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is to move us towards being more interdependent people. Just to kind of make you remember, some people talk about letters, all right? An A, if you think of an A is a very dependent letter. One side is dependent on the other. If you took one side of the A away, it would fall over, okay? Now, an I is a very independent letter. An I doesn't do anything. It stands on its own. What they're saying is what we want are H's. H's are like two I's with hands clasped between them. And that's what we're working towards getting with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, there's Stephen Covey up there in the corner. I like to take any opportunity I can to show a handsome bald man. But anyway, from dependence to independence, that's what the first few steps deal with. 1, be proactive. Don't wait for things to happen. This means being responsible, not blaming others. It's kind of having that internal locus of control. Proactive people recognize they have the ability to choose and act with integrity. Another way to think of it is take the initiative to make things happen. All right, you can also say it's not being happy with the status quo. It's going out and seeing what needs to be done. The second one, begin with the end in mind. Think about what the big goals of the project, of your life, all right, of your career, of your family. What are the big goals with that? All right. Covey emphasizes develop kind of your own mission statement. Think through it for you and for your stakeholders. What are some things that you want to strive towards? Habit 3, put first things first. The unfortunate thing is many important things are not necessarily urgent. You have to really work to make time for them. Is staying in shape and taking care of your heart important? I think most people would say, yeah. Begin with the end in mind. A first thing first that I want to put is taking care of my heart. All right? Well, if you don't take care of your heart today, if you don't go for a walk or a run today, is that it? It's done? It's over with? If you eat more fruits and vegetables today, if you wait one more day, is it like, forget it, you're dead? No. So the problem is we keep saying, mañana, tomorrow I'll do that, tomorrow I'll do that. Some urgent things that aren't necessarily that important. All right, our friends are playing video games online now. All right, don't get me wrong, I think it's great to do that and have that friend relationship and do things, but is that really, your big life goal? Make sure you're not sacrificing your big life goal because, well, the game's on right now. All right, and you're not exercising, or you're not planning for your next career move, or you're not talking to your kids or your wife or whatever really is here. Because the problem is a lot of things down that are important aren't necessarily urgent. All right? Urgent things are easy to prioritize because I got to get it done today. The opportunity to be gone. But there's some important things that you can easily put off, but if you keep doing that, you never do them. All right? That's a big takeaway there. Now, the next set has us moving towards interdependence. All right? The first three habits were about self-reliancy and mastery, moving towards interdependence. Open communication, teamwork, things like that become really, really important. Habit 4 is think win-win. Realizing that cooperation is important. There's a story I love. They used to run on NPR, the best advice you ever got. And they were talking to a guy who was in Hollywood, and he worked making deals. And he said, the best advice I ever got came from this guy who's a legendary producer, like a billionaire. He made all these incredible films. And he always said, if you're doing a deal and you've gotten what you want out of that deal and there's money left on the table, let the other guy have it. People are like, no, you grab for every penny. That's what it's all about. Well, he got a reputation of being a guy who's got to get what he wants. All right. But after that, he's the guy that makes sure that the other guy wins too and moves towards that. So he was able to do more and more deals and some really cool deals and make an awful lot of money. So rather than thinking everything, how do I win, how do you lose, think, how can we figure out that we can both win? We can both save face. We can both get what we want out of this. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. This is about listening to others. Not getting our story out first. And we'll talk more in this class about it. It's already come up about the importance of listening. But incredibly important to work to be a good listener. Habit 6 is synergize. Now, synergy is something that if you end up taking me for the strategy class, we talk about a lot more detail. And it's really a special kind of thing where two things come together and produce more than they could on their own. All right? But combining actions, getting people to work together to build great things. And then habit 7 is sharpen the saw. Think in terms of continuous improvement. And these are kind of nice things to think through, like Franklin's virtues. To think through, how am I doing that? Maybe try to do one each week or something like that to move you forward, or at least reflect on one each week. It can be kind of a cool thing to do. Now, we'll also hit with this some strategies for managing up. Because remember, in a good follower leader relationship, there should be two-way communication and kind of two-way managing. I'm not saying manipulate your boss, but think about how you can influence your boss in a positive way. Some things that the DAF textbook brings out: work to be a resource for your leader. All right, figure out what your leader's goals are. They're supposed to find what your values are, so you can have shared values. Try to find out what their values are as well. And if they're ethical values, think if you can align with that, what they're trying to do within the organization. Be a source of strength for them. Have a feeling about where they're trying to get. Help the leader be a good leader. A lot of this that they bring out is just, don't just shut your leader out. Let them know if you have a problem, if you need advice. Don't be running to your leader every minute. Put some thought into it, but run ideas by your leader, things like that. Nothing drives me as crazy is at the end of the semester, when all the tests are in, somebody says, oh, I didn't do very good in this class. What can I do to be better? It's like, can I still get a high grade? And I'm like, well, it's done. And I'm kind of angry because, if you would have talked to me early on, we could have gone over some notes if you missed those or anything like that. But again, work to help the leader be a good leader. And some of this means making sure you communicate your needs, how you can be a resource, and things that you need and you can use their advice on. Next is build a relationship with the leader. And again, we're talking about a professional relationship. You should know something about your leader. I'm not saying go out and get drunk with your boss or anything like that, but effective followers work towards a genuine relationship with their leaders, developing trust, speaking honestly. All right, the relationship should have mutual trust. I respect them as a person, they respect me as a person. Don't try to have them lose face. All right, that's why we always say, if you've got something that could come off as critical, do it in private, face to face. Don't blast it out in a CC email or something like that. All right? Think about ways that you can build a positive relationship, and for both, not how do I get them into a corner. Last of all, view the leader realistically. Understand that leaders are human and fallible. Understand that leaders are human and fallible. This leads to acceptance and potential for an equitable relationship. There are a lot of people, especially very dependent personalities, their boss makes a mistake, and I'm not necessarily talking about lying, outright at all. I'm not talking about that. But they make an honest mistake, and they say, well, the leader was wrong. I can never trust them again. They're obviously not a good leader, because leaders just should know. Well, they're human beings. All right, now if they're being arrogant about it, if they're doing something like that, if they're not admitting a mistake, that's another problem. All right, but making mistakes makes people human. And even the people above you on the corporate ladder, you know they're going to make some mistakes, and you can't be all the time. If they made an honest mistake, they made an honest mistake. Okay, that little chunk's done. Back with another video in a minute.